Superheroes. Um, there's a lot to say as far as who superheroes are to me. One thing that I've always believed superheroes should be a part of is not killing, because they are so powerful that they not only save, they don't kill to save, because they're strong enough to do that. They're strong enough to make it so that they can uphold the morals of society. Well, yeah, I will say killing is immoral. I mean, and more than that, I think it's inefficient. Humans don't work, learn, eat, play without living, and superheroes protect that life that does that. So, Superman, for example, um, I don't know if he's one of my favorite superheroes, but he is a favorite superhero. If that makes sense. Not in like the top five, maybe, but I don't know. In a way, he is. I don't know. It's hard to say. I've never like done quite a ranking, so that's why I give that answer. But Superman inspires by being stronger, but then not letting it be so easy for him to be that strong, that's where his strength lies. He can kill all the criminals. He could literally kill all the criminals. He can get away with it. He could, flush them out, burn them. But people need second chances. People need, you know, attempts to prove themselves. People need, a way to redeem and then aspire to be. And without life, they cannot do that. And Superman knows that it's so hard to, have the ability to rule the world, to destroy it, to change it completely in the way you want, and then not doing so because you believe that there are people out there with an opinion, that and ideas that you can't have, that you won't have, that that can have humanity progress, that can have life, give new shape. Dreams can be made, and that everything can just get better that way. And I'm talking about life for a second because to me that's the highest point of a superhero, that they do not kill. So, for example, if you're in the anime world, if you're not, there's a hero, One Punch Man. In that anime, or the anime world, really, um, when they introduce superheroes, a lot of them do kill. Most of them do kill. They don't really have like an objection toward killing. But they're not going out of the way to, but they're kind of having sort of a Marvel approach to it where, if they're allowed to, they will. And if they feel that it's to them necessary, then they will. But there's no like code that's like DC. A lot of DC characters have to, prevent them from doing so. I say DC at least. I mean, a lot of Marvel characters do, and I'm not saying because that's a whole other thing. But I always joke and say, Marvel is a team of killers. I mean, a whole superhero group of killers, and it really feels that way sometimes if you look at what they do, and how less big of a deal it is for them to kill versus DC. Like when DC characters are killing, something's gone wrong. Something is, changed. This is different than the norm. This is a spectrum of, let's say Batman, who has gone farther than any Batman has gone before, and possibly is worse for it. And in some ways, not stronger for it, but he happens to be strong, experienced Batman. I'm just like, Batman versus Superman, Batman. I don't know that the cinematic universe did that, and I've not, had so much exposure to Batman, but I don't know that Batman very well. So yeah, I like to believe Batman versus Superman, those people didn't die. I know it's hard to believe, but unless I'm seeing them lying on the ground, not breathing, somebody checks their pulse in the movie or incinerates them or whatever, they're not dead. So let's just, because I want to believe that. I do want to believe that. I'm going to believe it until, it's truly proven otherwise. But, I mean, someone might prove it to me otherwise, but I don't know. That Batman might be capable of those things, though. Because this is a different Batman. Or at least an older, different Batman. Because my Batman, he... All right, sorry about that. My Batman. Sorry, just give me a second. Sorry. Mm. But yeah, my Batman. Excuse me. Sorry for the skip. But yeah, my Batman is the weakest, physically, in many ways in the DC universe. You can argue that, let's say Black Canary. I mean, technically, Black Canary has the superpowers. She can do a sonic bird cry, which is it's something. I mean, that's something. There's only so much she can do with that in a way, but um, she is physically not completely eclipsed by Batman, let's say. I mean, in a way she is, but the example I'm trying to make, Superman can lift half a continent, half the continent of Africa, if he needed to. That's kind of Superman's power level. And Batman is 3 trillion times less that power level. Like, he cannot accomplish such a feat. And that's why, to me, that's why when Batman doesn't kill, it really sends, I think, a significant symbol that he's not going to he's not going to sink to that level, despite that it might be the only way, seemingly the only way possible each time for him to carry out his brand of justice, or society's brand of justice, but really Batman's brand of justice, because he always he's never a cop. I mean, he's a vigilante. All superheroes are vigilantes, but so, an example of a superhero to me, again, is they put their priority in their life's work as a superhero. Batgirl, technically, she's a hero, but is she a superhero? Don't know. In many Batgirl representations, and some of you might be offended by this, and I understand, Batgirl does not at some point, due to one reason or another, continue the Cape Crusade. She gives it up. It's more of a life, it's more of a hobby, not to demean her work or anything she's ever done, but it's more of that. She's not, this is not her path she's taking for the rest of her life. This is not what she would like to do. In many cases, she either goes on to being Barbara Gordon, police commissioner, or Oracle for some time, and then giving that up, or there's different paths that Batgirl has taken. But, and to say, I'm not demeaning her, say like her power level or her worth as a hero, to say she's not a superhero. But to me, that's defining superhero. Not powers, it's the commitment to justice that you may give. And, really defining you as a person, and everything that you accomplish reflects that. Green Arrow, would rather give up his company, as long as it doesn't cost him his assets that he needs to fight crime, to be a superhero. And he does what he feels that society has wronged others by, with that fortune, and lives, more or less a lifestyle still according to the one he lived before, but fully devoting him and himself to that pursuit of crime. To get into the meat of it, so to say, superheroes, and why I bring up killing and death and pacification, pacifist ideals, is that superheroes should continuously look at the morals, rules of society, reflections, and duties that one is expected to be the best of humanity at all times possible, and then inspire others to do so. And I think it's important to me that a superhero does reflect that ideal. Superhero is not just a powerhouse, or even a powerhouse many times. A superhero just steps in and says, this is how I'm going to prevent this problem. And even in anime, One Punch Man, there might be a lot of destruction involved and everything. But One Punch Man is still a superhero, because he saves many people, for the reason of saving them versus demonstrating his power for some, achievement, although that might be his, like, somewhat his motivation at times. But, if put in front of him a situation that he can walk away from, he will walk towards it. So, and that, I think, applies to all superheroes. Aside from One Punch Man, aside from a lot of superheroes. Um, Not sure. Superheroes are crazy to define because they're crazy. They're all crazy. I mean, you're talking about you're devoting like 90% of your day. Like, you're not going home, you're not playing some games, you're not, having lunch and watching a movie. I mean, you really are devoting your entirety of everything into being a superhero, and you're living life through that. And it really is kind of crazy. I mean, if you had powers, everyone thinks if they have power, they'll, become a superhero or do what you want after. But what if you did nothing? What if you just continued day to day? And I think that's how most people would live. And so when you're a superhero, I think a defining trait is you got to be crazy. I'm kidding mostly. Well, not kidding, exaggerating on being crazy, but maybe it's true. I mean, Batman, Superman, I mean, Superman, he's probably the better example, is that, yeah, he does have all this power, but you have to ask yourself, why does he feel the need to use it? I mean, yeah, he has a strong conviction, but I mean, maybe his conviction is perhaps too strong at times, leading him to make choices that would seek to subjugate humanity. I mean, that has happened. That's not always what happens. That's not always who Superman is. I mean, I think that's kind of been his light for the last 3 years. I mean, his perception for the last few years is that, he's, what if he decides to turn on us? What if he, you know. But, I mean, the only reason that's even ever brought up or has been adapted into form of Superman being a tyrant is because it is possible. Because these superheroes, they get to a point where they're so good at what they do that they also have the ability to turn away from what they do and become something different, something worse than what they are. And they can commit crimes. They can, they can do anything they want because they've known how to fight so well and live life at a point that's above society while still trying to reflect society, that can lead them to that path. And that's the constant struggle of a hero, is that having this strong conviction to save other people constantly, consistently, on a massive level, knowing, I mean, having losses to deal with, like losing people that you intended to save or not saving anyone at all. I don't think Superman every time, it might seem that way, the Superman every time intervenes, but I mean, there's so many situations that have to be happening on globally. And Superman is like a report. And I use Superman because he's probably the example, that's what Superman is to me. He's the epitome of the one who is in the best position to do everything, nothing, and the opposite of what you'd expect all the time. And that won't change as long as he is as powerful as he is. But he's a reporter. He has to be hearing about news of horrible things happening all the time. But he does selectively choose who he's going to save. There are things happening all the time, whether it be war or crime. He's not going out of his way to every 5 minutes bust a drug ring or, to bust up some militants and they're destroying villages. Like, he's not doing that. And I'm not saying, I don't know if he's wrong. I want to say I'm not saying he's not, but I've always wondered, should Superman devote every second to saving people? Becoming a shield that constantly defends and protects without pause, because he does take his superhero work as a job which he gets a break from. So this is being a superhero. I don't know. See you.